want a bracha that will really be powerful. Ladies and gentlemen, take advantage of this opportunity we have this morning. Unfortunately, as years go on, the number of survivors diminishes each and every year. And we have to very much take advantage of the fact to listen to the survivors and their stories and ask them questions and treat them with the respect that the Satmar Rav saw in each and every one of their lofty neshamot. I want to call upon Mr. Steve Jacoby to introduce his father and begin the interview that he will have with him.
Hi, good morning. So, I guess I'll just tell you the background of my father. He was, I guess you don't say what year he was born in, but he was born a while ago. He was born in Europe in a small town which was then Czechoslovakia, which is now the Ukraine. And he was one of 6 children. There were 3 boys and 3 girls. And he was the 5th of the 6 children. The 3 older girls, thank God, are still alive. And one is living here in Florida, 2 in New York. The oldest brother and the youngest brother did not survive. And actually, Darren, those of you who know his Hebrew name, Meir Dov, is named after him. And just one quick story is that Meir Dov, the famous story I grew up with was that my father never got in trouble, just like me. But Meir Dov used to get him in trouble by, one time he threw a rock at shul and my father got blamed for it. So Darren's nothing like namesake he's named after. Anyway, I want to get to my father immediately, but he came to this country without anything and basically built himself up with God's help. He built a business and raised 4 children, and he doesn't like this, but he's a very good golfer. And he's a very charitable person, and you're not supposed to praise someone in front of them, so let's just say that the highest praise relevant to today is that he's very normal considering what he went through. My kids know that if I stub my toe, I'm in a rotten mood. So he went through obviously a lot very horrible things, and the most relevant thing is that he's very normal, and we grew up very normal, which is unbelievable. So without further ado, I'd like to invite my father to come up here. And the format that we've chosen is that we're going to, you've written out questions yesterday, and I'm going to use those questions as a basis for okay, and my father did an interview recently. Those of you know from the community, Amos Prince, he was anyway. So we'll take excerpts from that. Did you want to say anything?
Yes, I'd like to say something that
this one doesn't work.
my son took all my whole speech practically. He did everything, but I wanted to tell you that I was just about your age, maybe a year older, 15, when the Germans took by force our family and took us to Auschwitz, Mauthausen. And we used to joke about that. I used to tell our children that I too went to camp, sleepaway camp. Anyway, you got most of the story, and if you have any questions, I'll be very happy to answer. I'll open it up for questioning.
I have a question. Does this one work? By the way, just like the speaker last night, this is the first time my father is publicly speaking about any of this. I can just hand it to him. Okay. Okay, the first question is, and these are not in any good orders, but did any big miracles happen to you during the Holocaust?
Well, the first one happened when we first got to Auschwitz. They separated by age, 0 to 18 and 50 and over. 0 to 18 went to one side, and 50 and over, and 18 to 50 went to work. yeah, as we all know, that from 0 to 18 and 50 and over went to gas chambers. I was only 15, but I had most of it. My friends were 18, so I went with my friends, and this was a miracle. Just made me think of saying that I was 18 years old. So that's one of the first miracles.
Also, do you want to just mention what happened to you in terms of your asthma?
Yeah, I had asthma as a kid, and it was as soon as we got to camps, it just disappeared. I outgrew it, and I did not have any asthma until 1980 when it came back again, and still have it. But during the years of 1943 to 1980, I was actually asthma-free.
Another question was, what was your scariest experience that you remember?
Well, the scariest experience when we first got there, they, of course, changed all our clothes. We went out of striped clothing, and I didn't know anybody. It was like being nowhere. I mean, amongst people that I'd never seen. So I started hiding. I was hidden. And, you know, the Germans always had a deal that they called, they counted everybody several times a day. They'd line up and count, and it was thousands of people. Made sure that nobody disappeared, and everybody was there. And one day, the first day we got there, there was one person missing. And who was that person? Yours truly. So they stayed, unfortunately, people stayed outside for a long time until they found me in the, I was hiding in the bathroom. So normally, they would shoot a person like that. I don't know what happened. Again, a miracle happened. I was only received 20, 25 lashes. That was it.
I guess they asked, did you lost family? How much of your family did you lose in the Holocaust?
Well, I lost my parents and 2 brothers, and of course uncles, aunts, and cousins, a lot of many of them. Unfortunately, very few of us survived. I was one of the youngest ones, and I didn't want to give my age, but I'm 80 years old.
Another question was, how do you deal with it today? How does it
Well, thank God I deal with it very well. I'm happy to have a wonderful family, children, grandchildren. Over here, and I am learning well, and I'm very proud of them.
How did you feel when the Holocaust started? What did you know was going on?
Well, actually, I had no idea what was going on. I was just taken in those cable cars, and we went to Auschwitz. And I was in the days. I was 14 years old. I really had no idea what was going on. Just following, try to be with some of the people that I know, basically, to feel a little more comfortable. And it was it's a horror. It doesn't work. This worked better. Okay. It was really a horror, and it was difficult to explain.
Did you, what happened in terms of when you were going to school, when they took the teachers away? What was your role?
Oh, well, at one time when they took most of the teachers away, as a matter of fact, I substituted.
How old were you?
14. Well, at one time, I remember I had some 20, 25 children that I was substituting. Anything else? Anybody?
Tell them what your day was, what your school day was like when you got up in the morning.
Well, let me see, you guys don't want to know that. We had a school that started off in the age of probably 3 or 4. We used to go to school at 5 in the morning to go to school, the Hebrew school, davening, and then learn Gemara and davening, and then after that we'd have breakfast and go to secular school, which was from 8 to 12, and then from 1 to 7 back to Hebrew school. So we had a full day of really learning. And vacation, we had only 2 weeks for Pesach time and 2 weeks at Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur.
Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur.
Rosh Hashanah, I'm sorry, Sukkot time, we used to have 2 weeks vacation. But basically, I want to tell you the reason that I still remember a lot of things is because when you're young, you can really learn a lot, and it remains with you. It doesn't work? Does it work again? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. And it was really important for you guys to remember that while you're young, you can really learn and absorb. As you get older, it doesn't absorb. And I was lucky that during my youth, up to the age of 14, that he really pushed a lot of things into me. And thank God for that.
The story, we grew up with a story of one of my father's friends who lived in Brooklyn was a baker, and every year on the holidays he would send us cakes. You want to tell us what happened?
I'm sorry. Anyway, at one time in camp, I worked in a kitchen, and in the kitchen you were able to get a little extra food. And I had some friends of mine who didn't have. I was not able to just give it to them. So what I would take is a potato or a piece of bread and throw it at them as though I was chasing them. And this way they would be able to have food as long as I was able to give them. And this particular guy remembered it, and he was a baker. And he sent me cake every year. So that's repaid it. But anyway, I appreciated it, and it was a nice thing to do, and I tried to do the best at that time for him. Anything else?
Were you in concentration camp with any friends or family?
No family. At one time we were together with several friends. Unfortunately, some of them perished there. But not too many of them came home. Very few people that I went to school with that came home. But are still here. Some of them went to Israel, of course, and died during the Israeli War of Independence. Some of my friends. And, I have 1 or 2 here that I went to school with, which live in Florida, and I do see them on occasion.
Which concentration camps were you in?
Well, first we went to Auschwitz, and then from Auschwitz we went to Mauthausen, and from Mauthausen to Gusen, Gusen 2, Gusen 1, Gusen 2, and then at the end we got liberated in Austria by the American Army.
They want to know, how did you survive?
Well, how I survived was a miracle. When I came out of camp, actually it was much left of me. I weighed maybe something like 50 or 60 pounds. But then when the American Army came in and they started giving us food, because some of us ate too much food and they got sick and unfortunately they perished, but I could not eat just water. I always have water with me. And somehow or other, I survived, and I went back home to where we were born, and we met. My sisters came home, and we all met there. And subsequently, a while later, I tried to get everybody out of there because the Russians were taking over, and we went into Czechoslovakia, and we lived there for a few years. I went to Yeshiva in Maribat, and an area in the Sudetenland and Maribat. Went to school, Yeshiva, and also, excuse me, hard times, so that's a survival. But anyway, things went pretty good. And we came to the United States. We had relatives in the United States. As a matter of fact, my mother was in the United States when she was 17. She couldn't take the climate and she went back. And most of her sisters and brothers remained in the United States, and they and unfortunately, not too many survived, but when I came to the United States, we had a big family, my mother's sisters, brothers, and a lot of cousins, and it made it easier for me to get used to living in the United States. As a matter of fact, one of my uncles for me, so in fact, as a kid, I always wanted to be a doctor, so he offered to send me to school if I wanted to, but somehow or other I was too proud to stay. I figured it would take me 5-6 years or more, so I decided to go to work, and soon after I went into business, and I've been in business 44 years, manufacturing curtains.
Can you describe your childhood before the Holocaust?
Not before the Holocaust. We lived in a small little town. We had a lot of friends. Didn't have much of things that kids have today, because there was no toys, as a matter of fact, nothing much available. It was a poor area. Like for instance, for the Afikoman, we got an orange.
Orange Xbox? Or?
if the oranges were available at the time. But anyway, it was a good life. We enjoyed it. Family lived together nearby, and we used to visit parents, grandparents all the time. It was nice.
Did you have any interactions with any Germans or during the Holocaust, or did you have any non-Jewish friends that either helped or disappointed you?
Well, I had one particular German guard who took a liking to me, and every morning he would bring a piece of bread, throw it on the floor, nobody should see. So he couldn't understand why a 14 or 15-year-old boy would be in camp. Some of the Germans did not understand it. I guess it's Wehrmacht, it wasn't the SS. And then as far as other friends, there was no friends there, because everybody was out for themselves. They really looking out, because there was no, we had to work 3 shifts. There was 3 shifts that we built the Messerschmitt factory in Germany underground. We were the ones that were digging the underground to make sure that they build their factories underground so they shouldn't be bombed. So everybody was really busy for themselves, trying to survive.
Someone wrote, how was your faith affected by the Holocaust?
Good question. I think it was affected very much after the war. I really got away from it completely. And I tried not to believe in anything. However, there came certain times, Yanta, I sort of remembered again, and especially when after I got married, and we had a daughter, I decided that if I don't teach her anything, she will have no decisions to make later on. So I decided to send her to yeshiva. And from then on, it was uphill. I decided to go back to religion. I became Shomer Shabbos, and there it is.
How is your life today affected by your past experiences?
Thank God. I think my life is not affected by the past experiences. I have a wonderful life. a wonderful family. And I'm very proud of them.
What did you do right after you were freed?
We tried to pull ourselves together and find a way to do things. Really, we were all in a daze. It took us a long time before since we were sick for months, and then the American army decided to send everybody back to their places where they were born. So they took us by truck over to the Russian borders, because all that area where I was born became Russia. And we tried to travel those days by train. It was very difficult because the trains were all full. There was no order any place. But somehow it took days, and sometimes weeks, to get places where you wanted to go. And we managed to, one of my sisters was home already, and as a matter of fact, she got married right after that. I was the one that took her under the wedding. And as a matter of fact, that sister and brother-in-law remained in Russia. They didn't leave at the same time when we did. And they stayed there until 1970, when I was able to bring them out to the United States. They had 2 children, wonderful children. During that period, my brother-in-law had passed away, and I was able to bring out my sister, and I had 2 children. One had gotten married after that, which my wife and I went to the wedding there. And they're all here now, and they live a wonderful life. The children are successful. Grandchildren they have, my sister has grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And as a matter of fact, it's a wonderful thing that we were able to accomplish, to bring them out of the Soviet Union.
Is this working?
Not working? Battery?
A few people wanted to know if you saw also, I forgot to mention, my father joined the heavy metal band last year, and that's his lead song. All right, we'll try to do it without the mic.
Okay.
Here's water. A few people asked, did you ever see Hitler? But did you ever see any other of the famous? Did you ever see Mengele? I thought you might have seen him.
I might have seen him, but I'll tell you the truth, I really do not remember seeing them. We've seen so many of these officers, and we try not to look at them because it was dangerous to look at them. If you made contact, you might have gotten into trouble. So whenever we saw anybody locked out, it was like, stay away.
One of the questions was, were you ever treated differently than some of the other Jews? And I think you touched on that a little bit. Some of them were not was nice to you, and you were working in the kitchen. Did you? Okay. I don't know. Is there any? I don't know how we're doing time-wise. We're doing okay. Any other questions right now?
You guys have any questions?
From anybody from the floor while we're searching out?
Yes.
What was your reaction when you saw the American Army?
When I saw the American Army, it was a great reaction. As a matter of fact, I was very sick at the time, but it was a relief that you can't imagine, beyond your imagination. Yes?
How long was the Holocaust?
How long was the Holocaust? Well, I was in there a little over a year, but it started actually in Poland from 1939. It was 5, 6, 7 years. Some people were in the Holocaust for a long time.
How old were your sisters that survived? How old were your sisters that survived?
What was the name?
How old were your sisters
How old?
that survived?
Well, my sisters, let's see, the oldest one is 7 years older than I, one is 5 years, and one is 3 years older than I. So I was, during the Holocaust, I was 15, so they were like 18, 20, 22.
So they were able to not go pedestrians.
they were lucky they were sent to work, like from 18 to 50 people were sent to do work. So they were in that age group. Anybody else?
I have a question. You mentioned that you went from one camp to another. So why did they transfer you?
It's a good question because I guess they needed workers from different areas. And Auschwitz was the place where everybody came in at first, and then they distributed people to different areas. And of course we didn't get transportation, we walked most of the way. And probably 25% of us didn't make it.
Can you share, was there one in particular moving or memorable experience that rekindled your faith in human spirit?
Well, as I mentioned before, in the place in Gusen where we stayed most of the time, we had German Wehrmacht who used to drop a piece of bread every day. So I assume there were some things that we felt a little guilty probably of what was happening. Yes.
How did they take you from your home?
How did they take you from your home?
How? They came, the SS German soldiers, and they made us pack up our little packages. That's all we were able to take, a small little suitcase, and we were going on wagons. There was no cars those days, or trucks by us. We put us on wagons, horse and wagons, and drove us to an area. First there was the big shul that they put everybody together, and then they moved us from one place to the other until we got sent to Auschwitz by train. They had a ghetto that I don't know if you know the name ghetto. They used to put all the Jews into one ghetto before they transferred them to the camp, to the sleepaway camp.
What was life like in the ghetto?
What was life in the ghetto like?
No, like
Well,
camp.
the ghetto,
In the ghetto.
was very bad. I mean, it was very bad. Of course, not as bad as in the camps. It was put together many people in a small area, and the sanitary area wasn't clean in there. It was actually hell and high water. It was very bad. I was a little kid, but I saw what they did to other people. They would take some. I think they did that to my father. My father had a beard, and they grabbed him and they just cut his beard off. They were just mutilating people, doing everything that they could to embarrass Jewish people. You see, everybody wore that yellow star and to recognize that you're Jewish. It wasn't good. Yes?
Did you get numbers on your arm?
You got numbers on your own.
No, I did not. And this is another miracle. Usually, like I said before, that I would hide all the time. I was hiding in Auschwitz when they gave out their numbers. When they gave them out, I must have been hiding. I had numbers all over my uniform that I was wearing, but I never got one on my arm. My sisters did, everybody else did, I didn't. Yes?
Was it when the German officers came to take you, was that the last time that you saw your parents?
The last time I saw my parents when we got to Auschwitz. After that, we were separated. That's it.
Did you or anybody new try to escape from the ghetto?
Did you or anybody else try to escape from the ghetto?
There must have been some people. I did not. There was no way of escape. The ghetto, it was a possibility, but I was too young to escape. But from camp, there was no way. They had electric wiring all around the camps, and nobody could escape.
Were there any times besides from training when you thought that they might just kill you or shoot you?
Many times beginning when you thought they were about to shoot you or kill you.
Oh yes, all the time. I mean, they were pointing guns at us all the time. And it was really, they got to the point where life was almost meaningless. I wasn't afraid anymore.